Hello, it's me. Today, I really wanted to get into it deep, into my deepest, darkest depths of my feelings as they relate to Taylor Swift, and my experience growing up with her as my sole inspiration, my role model, my muse, and what happened that took that all away. And I, as an ex-fan, an ex-stan, yes, I literally had a Twitter Taylor Swift stan account in 2011, I will be watching and reacting to Taylor Swift's Netflix documentary, Miss Americana, and giving my real-time thoughts and reactions to scenes that trigger some sort of thought or sort of emotional response from me. But here's a little bit of a backstory first. I genuinely credit a part of my personality, a part of who I am, to Taylor Swift. I almost feel like in a way she raised me, specifically when it comes to my music, my hobbies in general, and how I planned out and shaped my future when I was still a kid. I just want to say right off the bat that I have never listened to the 1989 album, the Reputation album, or the Lover album. When Red came out with the single Never Ever Getting Back Together, that was the turning point for my status as a Taylor Swift fan. I was 15 years old, in the height of my emotional, moody teenage years, and I took Taylor Swift's genre switch from country to pop way harder than most people did, and I was very, very judged for it even at the time. I'm sure the judgment I got when I was a teenager is the same criticism that you're thinking now. That's literally nothing, get over it, nobody cares. She made a pop record, what's the big deal? And whenever I tried expressing myself to other people who appreciated music, I was told all these things, so I suppressed my hurt and my anger and kept it all to myself eventually. And I was definitely bitter about it, and I could have been more open and more accepting about Taylor's desire to branch out from country music for sure. I was probably really mean when I talked about Taylor Swift with my friends and my family back then, but when I was alone, I would play her music and cry from nostalgia and feeling like I genuinely lost a best friend or a close family member, which is really dramatic, I know, but I was hurt. But I also remembered the criticism I got from people telling me to get over it, that it's such a dumb thing to be angry about, and I did believe it, and I still do today. But now, as an adult, I understand that judgment and criticism that I had received from strangers on the internet whenever 15-year-old me would express my thoughts about all of that. Like I said, I was bitter about it. It makes sense that I was hurt, but I also see that it wasn't fair for me to hate Taylor Swift for writing Never Ever Getting Back Together. It wasn't fair for me to criticize her decision publicly, which attracted the deserved judgment that I wasn't prepared for and wasn't equipped to handle for good reason when I was a young teenager. And it wasn't fair for me to expect Taylor Swift to stay as a cookie-cutter country artist with a sparkly rhinestone guitar, cowboy boots, sundresses, and curly hair forever. But it still hurt, and my grudge did last for many years. To this day, like I said, I've never listened to a handful of Taylor Swift's pop records. But today, I want to dive into all of that. Today, I no longer hate Taylor Swift, but I do hate the memories I have from when I was a teenage girl listening to Red for the very first and the only time in my life. I hate the resentment that I had toward Taylor Swift and her as a pop artist. But I want to unpack it and see if I can finally get over it, like everyone has always been telling me to do. So a while ago, I saw that Netflix released a documentary about Taylor Swift, which I've put off watching until now. I want to watch it while I'm on the mic and give you my real-time reactions. I'm open to having my mind changed about her pop music. After all, I don't hate pop music in general. At 15, I was a fan of Miley Cyrus and Lady Gaga, but Taylor Swift was my home for country music. She was the reason that I picked up a guitar and taught myself how to play the chords D, E minor, A, and G so I could play our song and practice for my elementary school talent show performance.
Our song is like a string door, singing alley, tapping on your window, going on the phone, and you talk real slow, 'cause it's late and your mama don't know.
She was the reason I made my own music, and Taylor made the music that I wanted to make too. Fearless was the epitome of brilliance in my eyes. Every song was perfect, and every song I wrote, I had imagined it being sung and written by Taylor Swift, as crazy as that sounds.
Hey guys, this is a song I wrote a couple years ago.
It's called Never Needed You, and I hope you like it.
That's alright, it don't matter. Trust me when I say I could be better. You were a good friend, really something, and that's why you are permanently written. So just keep walking next to me. I can listen to your every dream. Now that we're here right now, this magical moment is ours. You started with those dark blue eyes on a Tuesday night. Your hands in mine under dim street lights.
It was almost like my music was like an extension or like another chapter to Fearless as I saw it as a young girl who looked up to Taylor Swift like a mentor almost. I wanted my music to be just like hers. But when Red came out, I no longer felt that way, and that's where the real hurt came in. But again, after years and years of holding a stupid grudge over a famous musician making a pop album, I want to put aside everything and watch Miss Americana with an open mind and an open heart. Oh, and yes, I did already buy a signed Fearless album. I saw them on sale yesterday and my heart dropped and I felt like it was like a sign or something. I know it's dumb, but like I said, Fearless was like... it was my favorite album. It was more than my favorite album. I felt connected to it and I felt like it was written for me. Like I said, this is dramatic, and it did inspire me to pick up my guitar every single day, write a new song every single day, and made me into the person I am today. When it comes to music, the Fearless album is my home. When I want to feel like myself again, like my true self, that's the music I listen to even to this day. Now let's get started. As always, I would like to invite any fellow artists to grab a sketchbook and make some artwork with me if you feel like it. And if you're new to my channel, this is usually what goes on here. I will draw an illustration of whoever the subject of the video is, and we talk and we hang out and we draw together. We don't all have to agree, but we do all need to be open and kind to each other and to the subjects of my videos. And yes, you can go ahead and tell me I'm being crazy and that all I was just a crazed teenage fan who was obsessed with Taylor Swift until she made a song I didn't like. But if you're going to say that, at least say it in a nicer way. And here we go. I'm pressing play on Miss Americana right now. So my first reaction seeing the flashback videos, the home videos, like kind of hits me in the feels because that's the Taylor Swift that I fell in love with when I was however old I was. When her first stuff came out, I was probably 9 or 10, maybe even younger than that. And a lot of this stuff, I feel like I have seen it because I was so obsessed with her that I would just go on YouTube and look up word for word rare videos of Taylor Swift as a kid, stuff like that. It's definitely hitting me in the feels, especially some of these videos where it looks like she's performing for a small audience back when she first started out. I actually saw her at the Mall of America for her 18th birthday. At that point, she was pretty big, but, you know, still small enough where she could show up to the Mall of America and people could still fit in the mall. Like, I feel like if she were to do that now, the whole city would be full of people coming to see her. Yeah, basically, first reaction right off the bat is I definitely miss her. I miss this. I miss the stuff I'm seeing right here, for sure.
In the middle of the night, in my dreams, I know I'm gonna be with you, so I take my time.
So this part of Taylor Swift singing, it looks like she's backstage. I do not know this song specifically, but I literally still do the exact same thing that she's doing right here. Just like walking around the room, just like singing a song. And I always do this with her songs to this day. Like I have a little baby and I just really enjoy blurting out singing Taylor Swift songs while I'm like feeding her or hanging out with her. But my favorite that I My go-to song for just blurting out and singing exactly like this is Jump Then Fall, of course, from her Fearless album. Other notable mentions are Superstar, The Other Side of the Door, and just basically any of the songs from Fearless, but those three are the ones that I've been singing lately to my daughter. She enjoys them. Makes her stop crying, but I do really love just hearing her sing just a cappella like this. It's really comforting, actually. So far at this point, I just really want to say that this is really humanizing her for me. I feel like seeing her lately as this like untouchable, iconic person, this icon, you know, like from this era that it's showing right here. Like, I always saw her as like almost this imaginary royalty goddess person, literally untouchable. I almost feel like this is like cliche, but I almost feel like she like sold her soul when she went to pop, from country to pop, because when she was country, like, she was always humanized for me. I always saw her as like an actual person. Like, I felt like she was a person that I knew. And then when she like switched to this genre where it's like everywhere you turn, everybody in the world like worships her, I felt like at this point, like I said, it felt like she was untouchable. But seeing this now, it's like humanizing her again, and like reminding me who I felt like I knew when I was little. So I knew that watching this documentary was going to do this to me, but it's fine. Let's keep watching.
Baby doll, when it comes to a lover, I tell you that you'll never find another like me.
So honestly, it was really cool seeing her write this song, and I definitely feel like it shows that she's a really talented songwriter, and I love seeing the way it comes together for sure. But like at the end of the day, I have heard this song before. Like, I don't know what it's called. I see on the screen it says it's called Me. I've never listened to the full song, but I have heard snippets of it, you know, I don't remember whether it was on the radio or on TikTok or something. I have heard it. It does sound very familiar. But this song has never stood out to me when I don't think I ever even recognized that it was Taylor Swift when I would hear it in the past. It just sounds like another pop song to me, which there's nothing wrong with that. Before watching this, if I would have just heard this song on the radio, I would have thought there's nothing special about that. You know, it obviously, it adds something extra seeing it being written behind the scenes, seeing it all come together, seeing Taylor Swift come up with the melody like this. It's cool to see that, and it definitely gives the song more personality seeing it being written. But just in general, I'm not blown away by this song or this type of music, which is a little bit disappointing so far. I hope we see more music that I'm just really blown away by as this documentary continues.
There is an element to my fan base where we feel like we grew up together. I'll be going through something, write the album about it, and then it'll come out, and sometimes it'll just coincide with what they're going through. Kind of like they're reading my diary.
So what she just said here about how she feels like her audience kind of grew up with her and how they relate to her music after she puts it out like they're reading her diary, that is definitely how I felt when she released Fearless and Speak Now. That's how I felt when I would listen to Tell Me Why from the Fearless album, and I'm like, this song is about my boyfriend, of my, like, I don't know how old I was, like my 12-year-old boyfriend at the time in elementary school, about how the song was totally about how I wanted to hang out with him on the playground and he wouldn't, and he was being mean to me, and that's how I felt. And like, all these songs are about my life. Like, when she said that in this documentary just now, it definitely like struck a chord with me in like an emotional way. So yeah.
I give myself like 5 seconds a day to be like, yes, this is happening. And then the rest of the day, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make it last.
And you sing, thank God, and my family for moving to Nashville. You have changed my life.
I was in country music and I was doing like a very spectacle type live show, and I remember thinking, this feels like a dream, this feels like a dream, this feels like a dream.
We don't have a song.
But When you're living for the approval of strangers, and that is where you derive all of your joy and fulfillment, one bad thing can cause everything to crumble. It was so echoey in there. At the time, I didn't know they were booing him doing that. I thought that they were booing me. For someone who's built their whole belief system on getting people to clap for you, the whole crowd booing is a pretty formative experience.
So I just watched that whole segment where she was winning awards for country music, and she was saying things like how when she gets those feelings like of, success, she's thinking about how to make it last. And I think earlier on in the documentary, she said something about wanting everything to be better than the last. And I'm probably making like a totally bogus connection here, but I'm wondering if, I don't want to say she sold out, because that's always what I said about her when I was younger. Like, I said it as an insult when I was saying she sold out to pop music. But I'm wondering if the reason why she switched to pop music and stopped making country music, which is where I felt like her passion was, is because, if you look at people in general as a whole, I don't think people in general like country music. It's a very niche genre. You have to be a certain type of person to enjoy country music. And even when she was doing country music, you had country music fans saying that she wasn't country enough and she was already pop, and they didn't welcome her into the country genre. So I feel like her as an artist who identifies as a country artist, but some people are saying, no, you're pop, and then her at the same time wanting to like keep building success and become more successful with every project she puts out. I'm wondering if that led her to pop, because everybody loves pop music. That's why it's called pop. It's short for popular music. And I'm not saying that she, dropped her passion, because I can see that she is still very passionate about everything that she's been putting out, and she's passionate about everything that she has released, for sure. I can see that. But I'm just wondering if there's a connection between her being successful as a country singer, but her seeing that she could be even more successful when it came to approval if she made pop music. Just some thoughts I had about that.
Just feels like it's more than music now at this point. And just most days I'm like, okay. But then sometimes I'm just like, it just gets loud sometimes.
When people fall out of love with you, there's nothing you can do to make them change their mind. They just don't love you anymore.
So I just watched this whole montage of her kind of scandal with Kanye West and Kim Kardashian when he released that song calling her the B word in it, and how it felt like the whole world had turned on her at that point. All the headlines were saying terrible things about her, talk show hosts were talking crap about her, people were saying she was a bad person now. The hashtag Taylor Swift is over party was trending, and she was talking about how much that really kind of broke her. And then she says, when people fall out of love with you, there's nothing you can do to make them change their mind. They just don't love you anymore. I remember when this happened, and I never really paid attention that much to it. At this point, I was just so indifferent about Taylor Swift that I didn't even give this story any attention. I didn't read any articles about it. I wasn't really watching videos about it. I wasn't paying attention to it. I wasn't trying to figure out what happened. I was just, made aware, just as the normal day-to-day person, that this happened and this is what's happening because of it. I'm just like, all right, indifference. That's how it was. It wasn't hate anymore. At when I was 15-year-old, I was like, oh, I hate Taylor Swift. But at this point when this was happening, I remember I was just indifferent, because it's like how you feel when you, what she's saying, how you feel when you fall out of love with someone. At first there's sadness and anger and hate, and you're spending all this energy on your feelings and expressing your feelings. And that's how I was as a 15-year-old, for sure, when Taylor Swift switched to pop music. Super stupid. I know I want to keep, I gotta keep saying that, because it's dramatic, I know, but it's just, it was part of my childhood growing up. But, and then, you get over it, you get over a lost relationship, and then eventually you become indifferent. So that's how I felt during this. I was indifferent. I didn't care. I didn't even want to look into it. I didn't want to give it my energy. I didn't want to bring up old feelings that I had, But obviously, like, I'm never gonna be okay with bullying anyone. You know, people who were going online and preaching all these terrible things about Taylor Swift, that's not okay. But, you know, at the time I just didn't care about any of it. So I didn't pay attention to it, didn't speak up on it. I'm sure if someone did ask me what I thought, I probably would have said something not good about Taylor Swift. Like, I wouldn't have said, like, oh my gosh, like, she did nothing wrong, she's a good person, I believe her always. I never would have said that, because I wasn't a fan of her anymore. I was an ex-fan of her. So I don't know, I definitely, it does make me emotional seeing how emotional she's getting about this. I do feel really bad seeing how she's reacting to all of that, for sure. And I think people just need to stop being nasty to people on the internet. Even if it's people you don't know, even if it's people that you think they're never gonna see what you say, they do see what you say. And it does hurt feelings and can be hurtful. So just don't be hurtful, people. Life lesson for you.
This day a year ago was the day that the jury sided in my favor and said that they believed me. I guess I just think about all the people that weren't believed, and the people who haven't been believed, or the people who are afraid to speak up because they think they won't be believed. I just wanted to say I'm sorry to anyone who ever wasn't believed, because I don't know what turn my life would have taken if people didn't believe me when I said that something had happened to me.
And it's right and wrong at this point, and I can't see another commercial and see her disguising these policies behind the words Tennessee Christian values. Those aren't Tennessee Christian values. I live in Tennessee. I am Christian. That's not what we stand for.
So after watching this part, I just want to say that I completely acknowledge that Taylor Swift genuinely seems like literally one of the best people ever for, like, her values and for caring about other people, for sure. So I would just like to reiterate where my issues came in was just strictly because she made a song I didn't like. It wasn't for anything else that she, like, did or said or anything like that. I was never critical of her as a person or how many guys that she dated or anything like that. It was just always just the music. That was the only thing that bothered me, was just the music.
The female artists that I know of have reinvented themselves 20 times more than the male artists. They have to, or else you're out of a job. Constantly having to reinvent, constantly finding new facets of yourself that people find to be shiny. Be new to us, be young to us, but only in a new way and only the way we want. And reinvent yourself, but only in a way that we find to be equally comforting, but also a challenge for you. This is probably one of my last opportunities as an artist to grasp onto that kind of success. I don't know, like, as I'm reaching 30, I'm like, I want to work really hard while society is still tolerating me being successful.
So now she's talking about how female artists need to constantly reinvent themselves to keep their career and to keep being successful in their career. And I don't mean to be nitpicky or anything. And I don't mean to discredit what she's saying or disregard what she's saying. But, you know, I'm obviously here connecting this to how she switched from country to pop to even more pop to even more pop, you know. I know currently she's kind of back to more kind of like a indie sound. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but you know what I mean if you listen to her music. But my point is, I'm rambling now, but my point is, I don't mean to nitpick, don't mean to discredit what she's saying, but I'm genuinely feeling like someone who wants to reinvent themselves in order to be successful is maybe doing so to, you know, keep the acceptance and to gain the acceptance of people who weren't genuine fans from the get-go, if that makes sense. It's a way to acquire new fans. It's a way to acquire more fans. It's a way to keep the fandom of people who would have dropped you if you would have just kept doing what you wanted to do, if you would have kept doing what you enjoy. Not that she didn't want to convert to pop. Maybe she did. I have no clue. Like I said, it seems like she genuinely does enjoy the music that she's making, the pop music that she did make. But just as like a little anecdotal evidence example, I never would have dropped her if she didn't reinvent herself. I personally would have preferred if she didn't reinvent herself, but I'm definitely just trying to make the point, just to condense and summarize everything I just rambled about, I feel like if someone is feeling like they need to constantly reinvent themselves for their career, it's ultimately going to just keep the approval of people, get the approval of new people, and advance yourself to the next level in terms of success and acceptance and fandom and money and fame and all of those things that come with that. And if she would have stayed a country artist, if she never would have reinvented herself, yes, people would have gotten bored. Yes, she wouldn't be as famous, obviously. But is your goal to make the music that genuinely makes you happy? Or is your goal to stay relevant? And that question is not specifically aimed toward Taylor Swift. It's just a question in general. And I don't know the answer to it. If I was going to ask myself that question, I wouldn't know the answer to it either. But it's just some thoughts, some rambly thoughts. Like I said, it's nothing against Taylor Swift to ask those questions. It's just, I'm just giving out my thought process, if that makes sense.
May 19th, 2003. Oh, I tried to practice my songs, but I completely psyched myself out and broke down crying. I don't know if I can do this. I want it so bad, but I get so scared of what might happen. Relax. I can handle it. I'm young. I'm talented. They'll see it in me. I've got to hang on.
Alright, so now I am ready to give my final thoughts on Miss Americana. I still don't know exactly how I should feel. Sorry, I am also feeding my daughter right here by the microphone. So if you hear the sounds of a baby eating from a bottle, that's exactly what that sound is. Anyway, let's see my thoughts. They played some of Taylor Swift's music throughout the documentary. They played some of her music from, I believe, the Reputation album and the Lover album, if I'm correct. And I gotta say, none of those songs really stuck out to me. I didn't really enjoy any of the songs. Not to be rude, but they're just not my style. It's just not the type of music that I like. And I said this earlier, but that is a little disappointing. And yes, she is a talented lyricist, and it showed the behind the scenes of a lot of the songwriting, and there is a lot of meaning that goes behind it. Like the political meanings and stuff. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that her songs still have meaning and they're not just all bubblegum pop for the sake of being catchy. But at the same time, it's just, the music isn't for me, and that's okay. I do enjoy some of her newer stuff from her latest 2 albums. I really enjoy No Body, No Crime because it is pretty country compared to her other music, for sure. I do like that one. And that's not to say that I only like country music. If any of my longtime subscribers are here, you probably know that I love all kinds of music, especially metal and rock, and I like pop. I like a lot of music, but it's just this strange parasocial relationship that I had with Taylor Swift that just messed up my bias when it comes to her music specifically. I don't know if say Lady Gaga came out with this music, I might have said I liked it. I don't know. There's still an underlying bias there. There's still a grudge there. I'm still trying to get over it. It's really dumb. It's a parasocial relationship that I need to get over for sure. Watching this documentary, did it make me a fan? I wouldn't say that I'm a fan of her. It made me miss her. It made me miss who I fell in love with as a teenager, as I was younger than a teenager when I first started collecting her CDs. But I did enjoy the documentary. I'm not gonna call myself a fan. Do I support her? Yes. Do I support what she stands for? Yes. Am I still hurt from this stupid teenage thing that happened to me? Yeah, a little bit. It's petty. It's dumb. Like I said, parasocial relationship, dumb. I do have a new appreciation for her, and I have a new appreciation for the music that I never listened to, the music that I never enjoyed. Yeah, I don't enjoy the music, but I appreciate it. Am I open to enjoying any new music that she comes with? Absolutely. I'm going to be open-minded when it comes to anything else she comes out with, when it comes to just her in general. I wish I was a fan. I wish I could still call myself a fan, but it's just, I'm not ready yet, I guess. But I do want to say that I am incredibly inspired right now to keep writing music again and to keep singing again. And I haven't written music in a long time. I've just been really busy. I've, going to college and getting married and having a baby and trying to, start my own career working at home. It all just took up all my time, and I haven't written music in a really long time, but now I'm very, very inspired to try taking it up again. And that documentary definitely gave me a lot of inspiration for that. So I'm sure I'm being judged a lot I'm sure I'm going to get some comments being like, this is why parasocial relationships are bad, and all you are is a crazed ex fan, and all of this stuff, which is true, but you know, it's just a part of how I was growing up, part of what shaped me today. And I just wanted to open up a little bit, watch this documentary as an ex Taylor Swift fan, give some of my thoughts, and talk to you guys about it. So let me know what you think, and also let me know if you did some artwork with me today. And if you did, as always, I love seeing what you made. Share it with me on Instagram or Twitter at paintandsipyt. Also, if you would like to support my artwork even further, I do have an Etsy store and a Patreon, both of which, as always, are linked in my bio. Not in the bio, in the description. I do pet portraits, and I make stickers and coloring pages, and all of that fun stuff. So I want to thank you all for watching, and be sure to leave some comments, start some discussion. Tell me I'm just a crazed fan, but say it in a nicer way, because I do get sad when mean comments are left into my videos, but I mean, don't we all? But that's fine. Alright, I hate outros, so okay, bye.